Revolting News presents the Home Planet News Memorial for Allen Ginsberg at the Cathedral Church of St. John the Divine, May 14, 1998, with Bob Rosenthal, Allen Ginsberg's secretary, Ed Sanders, poet, author, and founder of the rock group The Fugs, David Dellinger, renowned anti-war activist, Eugene Brooks, poet, lawyer, and brother of Allen Ginsberg, and Danny Schecter, the news dissector. But first, Tuli sings a bit of Where Is My Wandering Jew Tonight? Video by Norman Savitt, production by Thelma Blitz.
Where we seek at least does the Baal Shem dance at the President's feast. Oh, where is my wandering Jew? Is loneliness cast at the center of life? Is peace our reward at the end of this strife? Is our time's music the gun and the fife? Oh, where is my wandering Jew tonight? Where is my wandering Jew? And oh, where is my wandering God tonight? Where are my children? Where is my wife? Where is the song I once called my life? Oh, where is my wandering Jew tonight? Where is our wandering life tonight? Oh, where is our wandering life tonight? Where is our wonderful life?
That's our breath. I'm sure that we are all happy to be here in this moment. Allen Ginsberg taught us to breathe in the poison and breathe out the nectar. We can watch our single breath go round the world, disseminating its sweet candor. My name is Bob Rosenthal, and I would like to welcome everyone to Planet News, a tribute to Allen Ginsberg. I was blessed to have worked as secretary to Allen Ginsberg for a score of years. Ed Sanders and I and the coordinating committee have brought about this event to pay homage to one of the great persons of our age and one of the greatest poets of any age. It's up to us to carry on Allen Ginsberg's legacy. These simple steps transform us. Sit and follow our breath. The mindfulness that descends brings a transport to being alive and renews the vessels of hope that run through our bodies. This is how Allen Ginsberg put his thoughts, his limbs, and lifestyle on the line for the causes he believed in. We can reach out to our lovers and accept them as they are and form a bond of pure candor to become who we all want to be. Planet News will joyously sing Allen Ginsberg's praises, but because we all know he sang the praises of each of us here and the planet we are here on. And I'd like to read a poem written by Allen Ginsberg on Christmas Eve, 1996, a few months before he died. And he writes a poem here about a person doing something that is a quality of life crime now and not seen in New York. It's called Homeless Complaint. Pardon me, buddy. I didn't mean to bug ya, but I came from Vietnam, where I killed a lot of Vietnamese gentlemen, a few ladies too, and I couldn't stand the pain and got a habit out of fear. And I've gone through rehab, and I'm clean, but I got no place to sleep, and I don't know what to do with myself right now. I'm sorry, buddy. I didn't mean to bug ya, but it's cold in the alley, and my heart's sick alone, and I'm clean, but my life's a mess. 3rd Avenue and East Houston Street, on the corner traffic island under a red light, wiping your windshield with a dirty rag. Allen Ginsberg deeply touched and changed those with whom he came in contact. Hindus felt his Shakti. Poetry readers took his cues and unlocked their closet doors. He was sought out in each generation, for his open heart touched everyone's soul, young and old. Countless times he entered tense, violent situations and calmed them through chanting. He taught how to organize work and thoughts. He taught how to write a statement of political frankness using a trail of facts. He taught how to frame an argument with great attention paid to the accuracy of small details. For one false premise can discredit a whole argument. He taught to persist without rancor. He taught that anger and demeaning language redouble the venom in the struggle. He taught that anger can be dissolved under direct observation. He taught that one cannot carry out karma. Karma is self-selecting. He taught us to find the common ground to place our feet while mediating a dispute. Aren't we fortunate that Allen Ginsberg lived about 5 lifetimes in one and left us such delicious works to enjoy? As he sang, "Aware, aware, wherever you are, no fear. Trust your heart, don't ride your paranoia, dear. Breathe together with an ordinary mind, armed with humor, feed and help enlighten, woe, mankind."
Hi, my name is Ed Sanders. I'm one of the MCs tonight. And I brought with me my copy of Hal. I bought at the University of Missouri bookstore in 1957. In 1943, Allen Ginsberg took the ferry from Hoboken to Manhattan to take his Columbia University entrance examinations. And on the ferry, he took a solemn vow that if he got into Columbia, he would devote his life to helping the working class. His father was a socialist. His mother was a communist. And in those days, Allen had decided to melt the two to become a labor attorney. And in a very advanced and elegant way, that's what he became. A bardic attorney for the betterment of the human condition. He did more than any to expand the frontiers of personal freedom, a bard who held hundreds of causes, maybe thousands of causes, and helped revolutionize American poetry. Alan kept his shoulder continually and beautifully at the wheel, chanting to us, singing to us, exhorting us, in his own words, quote, to save and heal the spirit of America. Tonight we celebrate the social activism. You can find it in the newspaper we printed, a list of his benefits and his new democracy wish list. The social activism of a great American genius, a great citizen of the world, and a great poet. Allen Ginsberg. And now, it's my honor to introduce another great American, a guy that should give one of those presidential medals of freedom down at the White House. He hasn't gotten one yet. He's a political activist. You know of his work against the Vietnam War, the March on the Pentagon, the Chicago police riots of '68. A beautiful book he's written called From Yale to Jail. David Dellinger.
Thank you, Ed. It's an honor to be here and an honor to be introduced by Ed Sanders. And the first thing I want to say is that Allen Ginsberg combined the personal and the political in a wonderful way. He did it in his life, in his poetry, and in his action. And I think of one action, for example, a very early one, and don't ask me, since I'm over 45, I can't remember dates and things like that. But anyway, one of the first times that I and Alan talked about an action was at the United Nations, or leading up to the United Nations, on Disarmament Week. And I asked him if he would walk with us, because we were marching first, and he said no. And so I walked with Pete Seeger and Arlo Guthrie and people like that, and I mentioned that Alan would be at the last place we were going to, the place we were heading for. They all said, oh, you have to ask him to speak. And so when we got there, he was in his usual position, doing his alms. And I said, Alan, everybody wants you to speak. And he said, no, it's much more important what I'm doing here. So that was an example of the personal, but I also saw it in the farm that he and Peter Orlovsky had, and just all kinds of places. And I remember one time when he and I and David Rome were speaking together at Carmicholing, and they kept having us speak. So after the third or fourth time, I said, well, I think it'd be better if my wife spoke now. And the woman in charge of the program said, oh no, you can't do it that way. And so I talked with Alan, and we set up a situation where my wife sat right in front of me, and after I'd said a few words, I said, oh, and now I'd like to ask my wife. And Alan thoroughly approved of it. But also in his honesty, he was never self-righteous or sectarian, and he even spoke a few times about the problems he was having with Trungpa. And he told me that he was thinking about stopping the command that Trungpa had made that he should do 100,000 prostration. But he knew in the end, he decided, that he got so much from Trungpa's teaching that he would go and do the things that he didn't even, in many ways, believe in or want to do. Now I want to say also that Alan was so smart that he came to me one time when Abby Hoffman had just come up from Mississippi. And he said, you know, I want to take you over and introduce you to Abby Hoffman because you two have so much in common. And it was true. But let me tell you that a lot of the older, better established peace organizations and their leaders didn't approve of that. And one time in Central Park, when we had finished all the announced speakers and people still didn't want to leave, I saw Abby right down in front. And I said, Abby, I want you to speak. And he did, and to me, he was wonderful. But then somebody made a suggestion that I should be removed as chair of the mobilization committee to end the war because I had used this small young kid who had a sense of humor. Well, Alan had a sense of humor too, and he also understood that everybody couldn't be the same. Everybody had to be true to his own personality, which didn't mean that he didn't exchange ideas, but he never did it in a self-righteous manner. Now I will conclude by saying that in the same cathedral, I and Allen Ginsberg, amongst many others, took part in the ceremony after Bill Kunstler's death. And I was up in that one, and he was up in another one, and so we had to sit on opposite sides. But afterwards he came down, and he crossed over to where I was sitting, and we took the rest together. And it was that time that he told me that he did not have long to live. And it hit me, you know, Kunstler's death and now Alan. So you put them together, it was really quite a transforming emotional experience. But after that, I did see him a few times when he spoke at a college or when he read his poetry. And I was amazed at how well he did, considering the fact that he knew that he had only a short time to live. So I'm so glad that we're all here to honor and praise Allen Ginsberg, who was such a wonderful example for all of us, including me. Thank you.
Working with Alan intimately was to meet his family, his wonderful, big, extended family. It's a family of poets. And Eugene Brooks is Alan's sweet, gentle older brother. And he is a great poet in the tradition of his whole family. And being not accustomed to speaking in cathedrals, he's asked me to read his poem, written for Alan, but it's Eugene's poem. Telescope. Old 30s folding telescope. $8 tube, no tripod. Charmed glass wrapped in shimmering grass. Alan and I, summer camped in a Newburgh hill, pointed the scope east over the Hudson to Beacon. Thumbnail human figures under our omniscient scrutiny darted busily from sun to shade back into sunlight. We tolerant gods smiled at their compressed ignorance. Then we turned our lens on a nearby branch where a bird vibrated with the music it composed of air and rapture. It looked back with magnified, quizzical eyes. Nightfall, we started up at the immense Nightfall, we stared up at the immense curved dome. The octopus-eyed universe gazed back at our peacock lies. Years later, Alan, you turned 4 laser eyes on the whole world. Your life's work to notice everything. Tin cans, rusty tongue, dusty sunflower Corolla, red revolving police car lights, the rocky silver tip, the 1,000,000 feet of daisies, oleander, climbing air ladders. You squeezed a hooked beauty out of the world that besieged you, with diabetic madmen crouched in East Village doorways, whales screaming in gray waters, napalm theocracies, nuclear empires, bulging-eyed dogs hanging from Shanghai meat hooks, soldiers eyeless, the United States weeping its young. You spun utopias out of ancient grief, out of vegetable sacraments and anti-metal fervors, out of a lust for flesh and fame, out of peach-colored socialism. Now, done with that, you've stumbled into a timeless paradise, the infinite emptiness you chanted and abhorred, in a quantum nirvana of non-desire. Now the tortured mugs at the tide of your dust, your forehead of ash feeds the dry Newark grass, grows dandelion spores that a courteous breeze scatters over North Jersey oil vats and Manhattan's glass dollar temples. But your resonant voice travels the whole world through benign electrons and a thin film of air. Now on this frenzied sphere, 25,000 miles round, set spinning in this galaxy by the forefinger, an immense hand trembling with cruelty and compassion. In your name, I forgive him who shaped us to sing and perish. Outside my window, pink azaleas bloom under dogwood branches that spring breezes stir gently, and pine tree fingers reach out to fondle the sky. In this room in Long Island, my dry eyes rest on the telescope that lies loyal on a lacquered table. Young and green, we look through it with dumb eyes. Gravely, I touch this memory lens that not long will pass into other hands and long outlast this May remembrance of your queer, wry spirit.
Now, Danny Schecter. Danny Schecter, the news dissector, has been engaged in an energetic search to get the real word out. His global vision has produced essential human rights television, South Africa Now, and Rights and Wrongs. His new book is The More You Watch, the Less You Know. And here's Danny.
First a question, why are you here? Don't you believe everything you read in the New York Times? The Times reported that this event will be held tomorrow. A few hours ago, for reasons I still don't understand, Rupert Murdoch's Fox News channel called me to comment on the great event of our century, the last finale to the Seinfeld series. So there I was on the air with the man who played the soup Nazi on Seinfeld, who told me, that it was the only part of the show he ever did, and he's out of work and looking for a job. At any rate, he was asked where he would be tonight to celebrate this great event, and he said he'd be at Tom's Restaurant, a block away from here on Broadway, with the Seinfeld cast. And I said I'd be at the Cathedral of St. John the Divine to honor Allen Ginsberg. And we are here. On the same evening that America celebrates the airing of the Seinfeld TV series, a non-event bathed in extraordinary media attention and hype, a real event. This event offers an antidote and an alternative. While millions of dollars are spent to promote and profit from the sitcom About Nothing, we are here to honor the man who is about everything. Two events, two Americas, the same night, the same town. Which one is being covered? There are no network crews here tonight. So I made a little comparison, one of those little charts that you might read but won't in New York Magazine. On the top I have a category for Jerry and one for Allen. And along the side a couple of subjects. Lasting influence, Jerry, doubtful. Allen, certain. What he stands for, Jerry, nada. Allen, everything. Genre, comedy for Jerry, poetry for Allen. Claim to fame, big bucks, Jerry. Great works, Allen. Neighborhood, Upper West Side, stimulating, Jerry. Lower East Side, real, Allen. Cultural contribution, Jerry. Yada, yada, yada. Allen, Howell. Media attention, Jerry. Saturation coverage. Allen, we'll see tomorrow, although the Times probably doesn't know the event is happening because the editors there read themselves. Character of event, celebrity hype, Jerry. Allen, Planet News. I've always...
Lay down your head.
Lay your battery